So if you're not already on the mat, take a moment to find a comfortable seat for starting today's practice. And when you find your seat, see if a little bit of movement, maybe side to side or forward and back, would help that seat become any more comfortable. And your legs can be anywhere stretched long or crossed, wherever it feels like you can sit with the most ease. And as you settle into that shape, start to notice your breath. And you might notice if your breath is moving down toward the belly, or if it feels like it's staying up in the ribs today. And if it feels like you could benefit from a little more calm or grounding, maybe invite that next inhale down toward the belly. And you might also focus on the hips, softening and sinking down toward the mat. And if you're in a place where it's hot and humid, you're afraid that you might melt into your mat, you might notice if you can lift a little taller through the crown of the head. And as you inhale, think of the breath moving toward the belly, but noticing how it flows in through the nose. And then you might just take a moment to notice, as you're seated here, where does it feel like you're working to support yourself upright? Does it feel like if you relaxed, you would tip backwards? Or does it feel like you might tip forward? Take a moment to notice. It might be helpful to close the eyes. And just explore. Where does it feel like I'm having to work to hold myself in this shape? And maybe the answer is nowhere, and that's great too. Just noticing. And then when you're ready, we'll start to make our way from seated down toward the back on the mat. So you might hold one leg as a counterweight to help you roll down. Or if you'd like to warm the core, you might find your boat pose. And start to send yourself down long and low, nice and slow. And as you find the back, take note in this shape of what feels comfortable and what feels like it could use some motion. If it feels like the hips could use a little motion, maybe bend the knees. Give them a gentle rock side to side. If it's the low back that feels tight and tired, bending the knees can help. Or drawing them in toward the ribs and circling the knees like you were drawing a circle on the ceiling might be helpful. Noticing your breath when you're here too. And then yogi's choice. If you need a gentle practice today, if things are really grumpy and tired, I'd invite you to float your feet to the mat and take these next couple of minutes in constructive rest. This is a great place to help find calm and to encourage the body to restore itself. Or if it's comfortable and you'd like a little bit more motion and warming, draw one knee in toward the ribs, and giving it a little squeeze, a little hug close. And when you exhale, we'll switch sides. And to be gentle, you can just float the other foot to the mat. Or to warm the core, we can press the other foot out into the air. And when you exhale, we'll switch sides. And if that feels like too much, just letting the foot find the mat instead. And take your time, no rush, no hurry here. You might explore the foot. What happens if you press out through your heel? And then last week we talked about the floint. When we press out through the ball of the foot. So instead of just pointing the toes, pressing out through the ball of the foot. Exploring that. So this is an Ardha Uttanasana flow. Take your time, no rush, no hurry. When you're ready, you might tuck the knees into the ribs, taking a moment to rock. And then we'll find feet on the mat, all meeting in constructive rest for a moment here. Noticing the breath. And then noticing if you feel any warmth or any echoes of the shape or the movement we were exploring. And then when you find an inhale, send the fingertips up toward the ceiling. Take a moment to press the palms upward like you were lifting the ceiling up. And then show the back of the hand to the ceiling. And just exploring this motion of palms up, and then the back of the hand up. You might inhale the palms up, and exhale the palm down. And then what if you made a gentle fist, but took that same motion? Does that feel different, holding the hand in a gentle fist? And if you do have tension in the wrist, notice what your breathing does when you're here. And then send the fingertips back up. We'll turn the palms to face each other and take a little karate chop motion with the hands. Giving them a little side to side motion. This can help free up space for those who might have had carpal tunnel syndrome. This helps to create a little more space around the carpal tunnel. And then when you exhale, we'll find hands resting on opposite elbow. Use the exhale again to take the elbows to one side and see if you can settle the opposite shoulder down. Find an inhale to draw them to center. And exhale to settle them to side two, taking the opposite shoulder back toward the mat. Inhale to center and exhale to the side. And yogi's choice, if it feels good just to hold here, do. You can always pause a flow. Or if the motion is feeling good, use the exhale to take the elbows over and the inhale to bring them up. And we can stay here if you like. Or as you exhale, you might take the knees to the opposite side as the elbows. And this move is sometimes called Daksha's twist. And they say it's a good move for the summertime. It's thought to help relieve agitation and aggravation. And it gives the body a gentle twisting shape. We'll take one more each way. Now, depending on how your shoulders feel, it might not feel very gentle. It can feel very tight in the shoulders. And then when you find centered, take an inhale, press the palms back up. Draw the knees to float over the hips. And if you need to keep this gentle at any point, settle feet to the mat, return to constructive rest. Or if you'd like to add in a little motion, we'll explore moving opposite sides here. Take right arm and left leg and reach them away from each other. Just before they touch the mat, we'll exhale them back up to center. Inhale, try side two, lengthening left arm, right leg away from each other. Inhaling them back to center. So this is reclined sun dog or Supta Chakrasana. And you can play here like this. If you'd like to add more to it, you can lengthen the heels up, maybe giving your ankles a little motion. And then try floating the arm and the leg down and drawing them back up. So in terms of our practice to encourage mobility, these help integrate some of the deep core muscles, as well as give the joints a gentle chance to explore their range of motion. And we can take one more each way if you like. Noticing if your breath continues to flow with you. And then when you find center once again, bend the knees and your choice of drawing them in close or sending feet to mat, taking a pause in constructive rest. And come back to notice the breath here. And maybe just being aware of any echoes that we feel in the body from those movements and shapes. And we'll prepare to make our way up to seated. You might tuck the knees in close and roll your way up. Or you might rock to the side and then reach through the top leg and top arm to find your way back towards seated. And when you find your seat, take a moment to shift a little side to side if it feels good. See if the shoulders need a little shrug. And take a moment to pause and explore what feels different here than in our first seat. And if it felt like you were going to tip over backward or forward, just notice if that's still the case. And if it takes any more or less effort to sit here. And then when you're ready, we'll find some motion for the spine, taking a side bending shape. To be gentle, you can tuck one arm behind the back, thinking of lengthening the head over and away from the hip. You can inhale to center. If you'd like to add more, you can take the arm up and then exhale up and over. We'll go to this side once more, inhaling tall. Exhale, last time we come up and over, we might pause here. Noticing if we could invite that top elbow back an inch. If it's comfortable, we might turn the head up. And when you find the inhale, making your way back towards center. Take a shift if you need to adjust. And then we'll find our way to side two. Maybe the hand stays tucked behind the back. And we can inhale our way to center and exhale your way up and over. One more, we inhale to center. Exhale it up and over. Pausing this last time and noticing if the top elbow could draw back an inch. And maybe looking upward if it's comfy. Inhale your way back to center. Take a little shift as you find your way up. Noticing if anything feels different in the back. And then elbows tuck in by the ribs. Inhale, keep the elbows close as you open the thumbs back. Exhale, gentle crisscross. Inhale to open. And exhale, crisscross. So this helps the shoulders remember how the muscles and ligaments can slide over each other without getting stuck or pinched. And if you do a lot of work in front of you, like on a computer, or if you're crafting, or doing dishes or cooking, We tend to get in these rounded shapes, so this one can be really helpful there too. And then the next time you come back towards center, take a little pause and tune in with the wrists. If they were feeling cranky when we were moving them before, you might stay seated for cat-cow, taking an exhale to round back and an inhale to arch forward. Or if it's comfy, we'll start to transition toward all fours. And when you exhale, gently round the back up. As you inhale, find a gentle arch. Exhale to round. Inhale to arch. And taking your time, no rush, no hurry with it. So cat and cow, two of our classic shapes, they help to floss the nerve endings in between each vertebra in the spine. And this can also be a really calming shape for your nervous system too. So yogi's choice, feel free to stay here with cat and cow if that's feeling good. Or if you'd like to take a rest to keep things gentle, settle hips toward the heels for child pose. Or if you'd like, if you're craving a little more of a flow, you might leave the hips stacked over the knees for puppy. And then inhale your way forward toward a cobra or a baby cobra. And if you choose that flow, you can exhale back to puppy. And inhale forward to cobra. But you choose. See how things are feeling in your body in this moment and see if they would like to rest and settle, integrating the movement. Maybe cat and cow, or maybe puppy to cobra. And just choosing what feels best for you. And check in with your breath. Notice if it seems like your breath is supporting your choice of movement. And then no rush, no hurry. When you're ready, we'll all make our way back to meet on all fours. And when you find all fours, you might take a little shift side to side. If the wrists are comfortable, but could use a little more attention, we might turn the fingertips out to the side and take a little shift. We might even try walking the fingertips back on one hand and then the other. And you can also try flipping the back of the hand down and then sinking the hips away. And again, taking your time if you explore those shapes, taking them on side two. And just offering a little support to our wrists as we ask them to support us in a sun dog flow. Now, your choice here. If the wrists are not happy, we can work these shapes from the elbows as well. Or if things feel comfy, ground evenly through your palm, really anchoring where that first finger meets your hand. And explore stretching the right toes to the back of the mat. They might stay there, or we might float the heel. And then we might walk our left fingertips forward. They might stay there, or we might float the hand. And we can stay here in our sun dog, or we can explore what happens if we were to float the left hand down and try walking those right fingertips out. Now they might stay down, or we might try floating that right arm up. Can you breathe when you're here? Same side, sun dog. Helping to challenge the core as you might be finding. And then when you're ready, settle that right hand to the mat, but try taking the right heel toward your hip. We'll take a cat and cow, inviting the knee toward the nose as we round. Inhale, heel toward the hip with the arch. Exhale, knee toward nose. Inhale, heel toward hip. One more each way. And then next time the heel comes toward the hip, you might see if that left hand could float behind. You can stay put here, just reaching, or you might see if you can connect hand and ankle. Pressing the foot into the palm into the foot for tiger pose. Can you breathe here? And when you exhale, gently release. Invite hand to mat, but press back through the heel. And then see about sending that right knee outside of the left leg. You might feel a lot of stretch here. You can stay put. You can always back off if you need. Or to add more, walk your heels away from each other and sink the hips back toward the heels. You can stay put here, or you can continue floating the hips down toward cow face pose. And can you breathe when you're there? If it's too much on the hips, keep weight forward on the knees. Always okay to come out of the shape. Or if you'd like to add the arms, we'll take that right arm to reach back behind the neck. The left arm floats up. And maybe the fingertips come together, maybe they don't. But we're making almost like a diamond shape here with the elbows, trying to draw them away from each other. And taking one more breath here. And then if you were in cow face, go ahead and inhale the fingertips up. Exhale, fold forward, hands find the mat. Inhale, walking your way back toward the knees. We'll float that right heel one more time. And then settle knee to the mat. And take a pause here to draw the spine long and to notice your breath. Do you notice differences from one side of the body to the other? And then yogi's choice. If you'd like to rest before we go to side two, find child pose. You might take one of our gentle flows of puppy to cobra or cat and cow. Or if you're ready, you might take 3 vinyasa flows. Those are curling the toes under, lifting to down dog. Inhaling to plank. Exhale, chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. And inhale, cobra or an up dog. And take your time. If it feels good to flow, please do. If it feels best to rest, please do. Or if you can tell there's something else in your body that would like attention in this moment, take the time to go there now. Noticing your breath. And maybe noticing what parts of your body have your attention or have the most of your attention in this moment. No rush, no hurry, taking time to finish that last flow. And when you're ready, we'll meet back on all fours. And taking a moment to find neutral here before we add movement. Thinking of lengthening the crown of the head forward and the tail back. And then reaching those left toes to the back of the mat. They might stay there, or we might float the heel. And we can walk the right hand forward, might stay there, or we might float. And we can stay put, or if you want to try a same side sun dog, right hand comes down. Try walking the left fingertips out. And we try not to rotate the hip if we can. We try to keep the hips square toward the mat as best we can. Maybe floating through that left arm. Breathing when you're here. And then floating the arm down. And taking a moment to draw heel to hip. Use the exhale to bring knee to nose, finding a little cat. Inhale, heel to hip toward cat. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, heel to hip. One more each way. Next time you find heel to hip, we'll take a little pause and see if that right hand could reach back behind. We might stay put, or we might try to find the ankle. And press hand into ankle, ankle into hand, finding tiger pose. And when you're ready, gently release the ankle. Hand finds the mat, we press the heel out one more time. And then float left knee down outside the right leg. Now you might feel a stretch right here. And don't think you have to go any further. But if you'd like to go further, you can send the hips back, finding almost a child pose with crossed legs. Or we can walk the heels apart and invite the hips down in between the heels, finding a lift toward cow face pose or Gomukhasana. And it's okay to come out, it's okay to wiggle the legs around, to keep it where you can breathe. We can add the arms if you like, taking the left arm and reaching up and back toward the neck or the upper back. Right arm scoops down and around. And maybe the fingertips touch, or maybe we just reach the elbows away from each other. Sitting tall if it feels good. Or you can add more in by folding here too, trying to keep the elbows apart. Using an inhale to draw tall, sending the fingertips up if you were practicing the arms. Exhale, hinge from the hips, hands find the mat. Walking it forward toward the knees. Floating left heel up and back, and then settling knee to mat. Yogi's choice, take a moment here to feel what sensations are in the body. And then from there, decide if you would like to rest, to find a gentle flow, or maybe moving toward our vinyasa float. Notice if your breath supports your decision on how to move or how to place the body to rest. You might also notice here what parts of the body feel like they're moving or resting with a sense of ease. And you might notice if there are places that feel constricted or restricted. And if you find those places where you're noticing more tension or restriction, you might try to bring the next breath toward those places. If it's an arm, just imagining the breath moving toward the arm. Even though we know the lungs don't actually connect in the bicep itself, we have some research studies that show that just imagining the breath, focusing on a place of the body, does actually help improve the blood flow there. So take your time if you're finishing that last flow. Or taking one more breath in your rest. And then when you're ready, we'll start to make our way back up, finding all fours. And turning the toes to touch the mat. As you exhale, try walking your hips back toward the heels. Depending on your knees, you might even double your mat up underneath to keep the knees comfy. You might keep your fingertips on the mat. Or if it's comfy, we'll start to stack shoulders and hips on the heels. This is a little thunderbolt pose, Laghu Varjasana, and we can stay put like this. We might see if the little pinky toes can connect to the mat. Or if you're feeling comfy enough to stay, let's find eagle arms. Take the right arm on bottom, the left on top, stacking the elbows. Maybe back of the hands toward each other, or maybe wrapping to invite the palms together. You can stay put here. You can float the elbows, or tip the thumbs away from the head. And when you exhale, release the hands, maybe taking them out by the side. Exhale, fold forward. Let the tops of the feet tap out on the mat. Letting go of any tension in the feet. These movements can be helpful for ankle mobility as well as freeing up the plantar fascia, that thick band of connective tissue on the bottoms of the feet. When you find an inhale, curl the toes back in underneath, walking the hips back toward the heels. Now remember, we can keep hands down if this is a lot on the feet. If it's comfy, we'll lift and stack. And notice if this feels more comfortable or if your feet feel more tired and strained for round two. It's always okay to come out and bring the hands to the mat if you need. Or if it's comfy, now let's stack left elbow on bottom, right elbow on top, finding those eagle arms. And can you breathe when you're here? You might check in and see if you're practicing ahimsa or non-violence. Are you being kind and compassionate? Or are you trying to force your body to stay here? It's always okay to come out. And when you find the next exhale, release the hands down. Tap the tops of the feet out on the mat. And then no rush, no hurry. When you're ready, we'll curl the toes back in underneath. Now planting the palms, especially anchoring where that first finger meets the hand. Exhale, shift and lift for downward facing dog. And walk your way into the shape. Noticing where things feel open, or where things might feel tense or restricted. As you exhale, start to step, walk, or you might hop your way to the top of the mat. Relaxing the neck when you get here. And taking a deep breath in toward the belly. And exhale, bend the knees, shift the hips back behind. Belly button to spine. Inhale your way up toward Chair Utkatasana. Remembering that you can keep the hands close if it feels better, or reaching up if that feels good. And the next inhale takes you tall to Tadasana. Relax the arms down and take a couple of steps when you get here. This is the first time we've been standing in this class today. So take a moment to set it up, just like we did, settling into our seated shape on the mat. Notice how the weight feels in the feet, maybe shifting side to side. See if the shoulders need a shrug. And invite the spine to find its natural curves as you lengthen up tall from the crown of the head while anchoring down into the feet. And then when you're ready, We'll start to shift the weight a little more toward the left foot. Inhale the fingertips up. Exhale, hands to the heart, shifting the weight a little more to the left and floating the right knee. Taking a pause here. And if it's comfy, we'll invite those right toes to the back of the mat. Finding an inhale in our high lunge. As you exhale, hinge from the hips, fold to frame the foot. Anchoring here. And then when you're ready, no rush, no hurry. Spin the right toes out. Inhale, cartwheel up toward warrior two. Eyes out over the left fingertips. Breathing while you're here and exploring if it feels like you need more space, maybe we toe heel that back foot back a little, keeping the front knee behind the toes. Finding one more breath here. And let the next inhale take the fingertips tall, lengthen the leg, and spin your toes toward the long edge of your mat. As you exhale, fold from the hips, wide-legged forward bend, Prasarita Padottanasana. And you pick, you can stay here and just relax. Or you might start to bend one knee, walking the hands toward that side. Maybe floating to rest on the thigh. Or sinking the hip and lifting the opposite toes. And take an inhale towards center. And an exhale towards side two. So this is Ardha Malasana when we flow here. Or we can lift this up, especially if a knee or a hip doesn't like to sink down low. So they say when we're drawing attention to the inner seam of the leg, they say that's helpful for the liver and kidney meridians, as well as the spleen. No rush, no hurry, taking your time. And we can go one more each way if it feels good. And then when you're ready, we'll meet back in our wide-legged forward bend. Relaxing the neck. And then repositioning the feet. Spin the left toes back up to point at the top of your mat. Bending the left knee. And you might walk the hands toward the left foot. And then cartwheel back up for your warrior two. And taking a breath here, finding length. Exhale, cartwheel down. Frame the foot, float the back heel. Slide or step back. All fours or high plank. Belly button supports the spine. Exhale, shift and lift. Downward facing dog. Yogi's choice. Before we find side two, you can bring it down for a rest. You can take 3 vinyasa flows, or if there's something else you can tell that could use movement or would like your attention, go there now. Choosing what shape feels best for you. And check in with your breath. Does it seem to match what you're doing? Does your breath seem to flow with you? No rush, no hurry, taking your time as you finish that last flow. And when you're ready, we'll make our way to knee back in downward facing dog. If you're coming up from the mat, you'll curl the toes in under. Exhale, lifting the hips. Pedal in when you get here, bending one knee and the other. And then you might take a pause or a moment to float one heel and the other. And then we'll exhale, step, walk, or maybe hop to the top of the mat. Finding forward bend and taking a pause to relax the neck. Gentle nod yes or slow shake no. Exhale, bend the knees, hips move back behind. Inhale your way up toward your chair pose, Utkatasana. Again, hands can reach up parallel to the mat. They might lift up or have hands to the heart. Inhale, tall. Exhale, settling for Tadasana. And how's this Tadasana feeling? Do things feel tired? Do things feel warm and open? Just take a moment to sense into the shape, anchoring evenly through the feet and lifting tall through the crown. And then when you're ready, no rush, no hurry, we'll start to shift more weight into the right foot. Inhale, floating the fingertips tall. Exhale, hands to the heart, floating that left knee if it's comfortable. Taking a pause here, finding your balance, and then inviting those toes to the back of the mat. Inhaling up, high lunge or crescent lunge. Finding that length all the way up through the fingertips. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold and frame the foot. And this is a great time to adjust that back foot. If you know you're gonna need more space in Warrior Two, you might slide the foot back and spin those left toes out. Inhale, cartwheel your way up, Warrior Two. Can you lengthen out through the fingertips while hugging the shoulders away from the ears? As you inhale, lift through the front legs, send the fingertips up. Then you can spin the toes out so that they'll be parallel to the long edge of your mat. Exhale, hinge from the hips and fold. Wide-legged forward bend. Prasarita Padottanasana. Now, yogi's choice. We can do just what we did last time if you love that movement of sinking and settling. And as you might feel, for a lot of us, there's a fair amount of restriction here. So this is a nice one at improving mobility. Or if it's comfy, your back feels healthy, you might anchor the hand in center, walking the hands out a little from the feet so the spine is long, and see about finding a twist. Inhaling, fingertips up. Exhaling down. Always okay to skip the twist if the back doesn't feel its best today. We want to keep the back long while we're here. Inhaling tall. Exhaling down. Or walking the hands toward one foot if that feels best. We'll go one more each way if you're twisting. Or walking hands toward the foot. And then meeting in center, taking a moment to soften down. Maybe walking the hands out and pressing the hips back like a very wide leg down dog. Or maybe walking the hands in line with the feet, or even a little behind the feet to explore that shape. And when you're ready, we'll start to reposition the right toes so that your right toes point toward the top of the mat. You can walk the hands over in line. And then we'll see about inhaling our way, cartwheeling up to Warrior Two. And taking a breath here. Exhale, cartwheel down, frame the foot, back heel lifts. Slide or step back. All fours or high plank. Belly button to spine. Exhale, hips high, downward facing dog. Yogi's choice. Does it feel good to stay here and pedal in? Does it feel like it's time for a rest? Maybe find child pose. Or one more opportunity for 3 vinyasa flows if you would like. And choosing what suits your body best in this moment. And noticing how your breath might support your movement. Also taking note once more of what feels like it moves freely and with ease. And noticing if there are any areas that we're still feeling some tension or restriction. And then no rush or hurry, finishing that last flow or finishing the shape you're practicing if you're working a shape that has 2 sides. And eventually we'll make our way back towards seated. Maybe coming down to child pose if you were in down dog. And then walking your way back up towards seated. Just checking in once again to notice how seated feels now. Noticing if we feel length and supported. Using our terms from the Yoga Sutras of Sthira and Sukha for steadiness and a sense of ease. Or maybe now things feel tired. Maybe now it's hard to hold yourself up. Just noticing how things feel for you. And then we'll start to make our way down toward our back on the mat. So once again, you might just be gentle and hold one leg to help you roll down. Or if it's comfortable, you might find your boat pose. Belly button to spine and lengthen that boat out long and low. Nice and slow until you make your way to your back on the mat. And when you get there, notice if it's comfy to rest with legs long, or if it feels best to bend the knees. And it is okay if you want to head to Shavasana now. Or I'd invite you towards some reclined pigeon if it's comfy. Resting an ankle on top of the opposite thigh. And then maybe lifting the foot to draw the knee toward the ribs. And you can hug close, or you can lengthen the heel up. Maybe giving the ankle a little bit of motion. And breathing when we're here. You might gently rock when you're here too. That can help encourage those hip rotators to release and open. And it's always okay to rest the arms where they're comfortable and to use the strength in the hip flexors to hold the leg. And then no rush or hurry, but when you're ready, we'll float the foot to the mat. Bringing both feet down, tucking heels near the hips. Before we find side 2, let's find bridge pose. Tucking elbows near the ribs. Inhaling to anchor into the feet, floating the hips. You might just stay here, anchoring those elbows. Or if it's comfy, try clasping the hands together and sending pinkies toward the mat. And when you exhale, release the hands. Settle hips to the mat. Maybe taking a little rock of the knees if it feels good. See if the arms might need a little length too. And we'll start to find our way toward reclined pigeon on side 2. And settling ankle toward the top of the thigh. And then inviting the knee to draw toward the ribs. And the sides can be really different. Maybe one side, you keep the foot on the mat Just breathe here. Or maybe this side, you're connecting hands behind the thigh, or even around the shin. Or maybe this side, we're lifting the heel high and giving the ankle a little motion. Noticing if you breathe while you're here, especially if there's a big stretch. Seeing if you can keep the breath moving toward the belly. And maybe finding a gentle rock if things are feeling tense and tight. And when you're ready, no rush or hurry. If you just found a comfy spot, it's okay to stay longer. Start to settle that foot to the mat. We'll find one more bridge if it's comfortable. Heels near the hips, elbows by the ribs. Inhale, press and lift the hips. Finding your bridge pose. Salamba Satubhalasana. Maybe we take the hands toward the mat, or maybe we leave the fingertips up, helping us to anchor more through the upper arm. When you're ready, no rush, no hurry. Release the hands, release the hips, and find what motion is needed to help set up Shavasana to be the most comfortable yet. That could be knees to chest and rocking. That could be taking a moment to send legs up the wall. And if you're lucky enough to have a real wall nearby, please feel free to use it to do so. Or you might find there's something else that's needed, like a gentle twist. And tune into your body and find what would help prepare you for the most comfortable Shavasana possible today. And sometimes the most comfortable Shavasana means having knees bent. Depending on what's going on with your low back, it might feel more comfortable to take something like constructive rest for Shavasana. That's just fine. Or if and when it's comfortable, you might lengthen the legs and turn the palms up. And taking these next few minutes to settle in to your Shavasana. Noticing if your breath moves to the belly. Maybe inviting the body to soften down a little more, feeling a little heavier with each exhale. Knowing that I'll keep an eye on the time for you. Allow yourself this opportunity to just be without having to do anything. And if you're able to take a long Shavasana, please do. Please feel free to stay put here. Or if you're ready, you might start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe starting to bend the knees. And finding what might like to reach or bend and draw in close. Maybe rocking your way over to rest on one side or the other. And when you're ready, gently making your way back up toward any comfortable seated place. And taking a moment to see if the back needs any shifts or shoulders need any shrugs. And just noticing if and how this seat is different than the other shapes or the other seated opportunities we had today. When you inhale, invite fingertips up tall. As you exhale, invite hands toward the heart. And thank you all for taking and making the time to practice today. And namaste. And hope you enjoy the rest of the day.